What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Aftermarket. So today what I want to do is basically go over every single mod that I've done to this car. The reason I want to do that, I've been getting a lot of questions lately like, hey, you know, in some of your videos I can't tell exactly what's done to the exterior, you know, what aero are you running, what wheels are those, how much did that cost, how much did this cost, you know, oh, you didn't show your performance mods, how many performance mods do you have, what do they look like, yada yada yada. So what I want to do today is basically go over absolutely everything. So I'm not only going to talk to you about what mods I've done to the exterior and the performance, I want to talk to you about what my favorite and least favorite mods are, both in performance and in looks. So I'm not going to add up like a total of how much this all costs in the description. It's kind of tacky. I will tell you what you could just find online if you look. I'm going to tell you exactly how much it costs to buy these parts, or at least a range. I don't remember exactly how much everything was, but I'm going to give you a range. But I can tell you that this build is easily over 10K right now, between install costs and parts and everything like that. So just keep that in mind. I mean, originally when I started building this car, I kind of had a more casual build in mind. I really didn't expect to spend as much as I did, but for those of you that mod your cars, you know how it is. You buy one thing, then you want the next, and it just keeps going from there. And I didn't stop, and you know, within 3 months, I had built it to where it is today. So, starting with the outside, we're going to start with the looks department. One of the most obvious things when you look at my car is the niche M191 Gamma wheels. I got them finished in a matte bronze, which Subaru has proven bronze and blue. Always a good idea, always looks good. You really can't go wrong with that. Those wheels, if you find them right now online in 19s, are about $1,200, $1,300. I think they're more than worth it. They really fit the profile of the car extremely well. And I had done a lot of research in terms of like what wheels I wanted and what I thought looked good, and this was one of my favorites. So I'd say that was money well spent. They have some really good sizes available for our cars as well. So highly recommend you looking at Niche. They're a nice quality wheel company. They are smaller, but they're quality. So don't get sucked into some of these cheap rep companies. They're not good quality. They could break on you. You know, go with something solid like Niche or even a bigger brand. So the next thing that you can see here is the M&S side skirts with cups. I did choose to get it with the cup, which is right here. I personally liked the way that looked coming off of the fender. So I do recommend that. The side skirts with cups were about $450 each. So kind of an expensive mod, I guess, just for an exterior look, but in my opinion it kind of ties everything together, so I think it was worth it. Another obvious mod from the outside that you'll see is the tint. It did get ceramic tint that costs about $250, $300, something like that. So now I'm moving around the back, and let me just come around here so I'm not casting my shadow onto the video the whole time. So one of my favorite things here is the 3-inch quad tips. So let me see if I can just get down here and show you. So right here you can see that one of the hardest things I think about modifying the exhaust in this car is that the quad tips, where it is, the chrome surround really makes it a very small oval opening, and it's very awkward to find something that works for that. So what I had to do is just remove the chrome surround, and I was able to fit 3-inch double walled tips, quad tips in there. So the reason you want the double walled is pretty simple. If you don't, it's likely to burn the surround, and then you're looking at replacing the whole diffuser, and you're going to spend a lot more money. So the quad tips for both sides were about $250 total. The rear spoiler, excuse me, start that over again. The rear spoiler was about, I believe they're $300 on M&S. So between the quad tips and the rear spoiler, which is really all I've done to the rear so far, you're looking at about $500, $550 if you go the route that I did. So not too shabby. So at this point we spent $1,200, $1,300 on the wheels. We spent about $400, $450 on the side skirts, another $300, $400 on the rear spoiler, and then another $250 on the quad tips, and then another $250, $300 on the tint. So really, I haven't gone too crazy with the exterior of the car, but I think what I've done is just enough to really make the car look modified. And that's really what I was battling with, is the car was getting faster and faster, but it was looking very stock. And I kind of was like, you know, do I want to keep it as a sleeper? Do I like it looking stock? And ultimately, obviously, I decided that I wanted it to look as fast as it is. Oh, one thing I did not mention that I think kind of works as a performance and an exterior mod is the Velocitec Snorkels that you can see in there. So those really do add, and I'm sorry for the sun here, let me see if I can just block it for you guys. They do add a lot to the front end. Combined with the intercooler, I think it's a really nice clean look, and it really creates an aggressive front end. So and also the M&S front spoiler. So one of the things I didn't mention was the Velocitec Snorkels. It does add something to the look of the car, especially in the front. The sun is just absolutely beaming on me here, so I'm gonna get out of this position, but I also have the M&S front lips. So just for prices, the Velocitec Snorkels are $300, $400, and then the front lip is about $400, $500, I believe. So if I'm wrong about some of these prices, I will update it in the description and let you guys know. So just going back to this, if you're at, $1,200 for the wheels, $300, $400 for the side skirts, another $250 for the tint, and then about another $500 for the back, and then another $500 for the front, you're already over about $3,000 just to get an exterior look like this on a G70. So again, not a cheap car to modify by any means, but I think it was worth it. So now that we're kind of done on the looks department, I think I have remembered basically everything. Let's go ahead and open this up. Guys, I will say, don't judge me about the state of my engine right now. I'm going to show you why. Right now I do not have the cover on. What I'm doing is basically tucking a bunch of wires from the JB4, the CPI. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that. So let's start off with the simple things. I have Berger Motorsports intakes on both sides. Chose the blue filter. That was about $300. And when you look at the engine bay, if in an untrained eye, you might say, okay, well, what else did you do? So if you look a little bit closer, you can see the trusty JB4 up here. That's what I started with as a performance mod. I used to have a JB4 tune. I still use JB4, and I'll talk to you about why that is in a second. So for the rest of the performance mods, I have the BMS intercooler, which I showed you down here. That intercooler has been a little bit of a pain in the ass. It's a little too big for the G70, so I actually do not run with an under tray anymore. It just kept pushing the center of that under tray down, and then the under tray would catch wind at high speeds. It would end up pushing the wind to my wheel wells and tearing up the wheel wells. And after replacing that once, I said, you know what, I really don't need that under tray, and I'm actually going to be looking for a different solution for that. So that was one problem I ran into with BMS's intercooler, but I've had some other G70 owners that didn't have that issue, so maybe it was just me. So anyway, so we've talked about the intakes were about $300. The JB4, if you get it with the Bluetooth connection, is about $600. You need to upgrade your spark plugs, which can be about $100 to $150. So you're already about, what, $1,200 in right there. And then the biggest thing that I think matters in this engine bay is, one, the charge pipe injection and the fuel head sensor kit. So what that allows me to do is to run E85. So you can see here, you'll see the little fuel head sensor right there. This whole connection is going into the fuel pressure, the fuel pump. And what that does is it basically redirects some of that down to, so if you follow this wire, this is going into the JB4. This connection that's coming from the fuel pump goes down to here, and it actually goes right down here to the charge pipe passenger side, and basically dumps fuel into the charge pipe, helps cooling, also helps take some burden off of the fuel pump when you're running E85. E85 is really crucial in this car to making the most power possible. So I think that's pretty important. The CPI kit, which is charge pipe injection, is $639 from Berger Motorsports. So again, I think we're at $1,300. Add another $600. We're at about $2,000 in this engine bay so far. And then I think, let's see what else we got here. So with that flex fuel sensor comes the FSB controller. Let me just pull this out. And again, I just detucked all of these wires because I want to do it again. But the FSB WMI failsafe box, that is needed with the Flexi kit and the CPI. And what that helps you do is get a nice E rating when you have E85 in the car. You're not doing your own calculations. Highly recommend that. The FSB itself is $150, but you can buy it as part of the Flexa kit and the CPI kit. So I would recommend just buying that all together. Let's see what else we got here. Oh yeah, so the biggest and probably most expensive mod in this whole engine bay is actually the ECU tune. So I had JB4 for a while. I did like it, but there were a little some inconsistencies with the performance of the car with the JB4 tune, and I didn't really feel like with the mods that I had, the charge pipe injection, the intercooler, things like that, that I was getting the most out of this car performance-wise. So I did go with LAP3 and their Stage 2.5 tune. That tune is about $2,300. So when most people hear that, when they hear that price, they're like, holy shit, $2,500 or $2,300 is a lot of money for a tune. Guys, I wrote a review or did a review video on this, you know, last week or 2 weeks ago. It's 100% worth it. Nothing changed my car more than this tune. So even though it was $2,300, that tune is built to be run with methanol or CPI, and it's good for a lot of power. The power band is just so smooth. It holds boost at about 20-21 psi all through the power band. So previously with JB4, I was at 22 to 23 pounds of boost, and I was getting a lot less performance out of that. So now I'm running lower boost, but it's more consistent, and my car is way faster, which I'm going to show you guys in a little bit. So I think that's it. Let me see if I've forgotten anything. I think that's it for the engine, so I'm just going to close this up. I did forget one thing. I have the Arks GTS lowering springs on this, and then I do have some spacers. I am going to be switching out the lowering springs to coilovers, and I'm most likely going with M&S coilovers. So of course I will update you guys, but the gap that you see here doesn't seem like a lot, but for a guy like me, it's starting to bother me, and I decided I'm gonna go ahead and lower it a little bit more on coilovers. So yeah, I think that's about it. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything else. I think it's time to just talk about what my favorite performance mod is, my favorite aesthetic mod, and then what my least favorite performance mod is, and my least favorite aesthetic mod. So let's just start with the favorites. Let's start on a positive note. My favorite aesthetic mod by far is the M&S Aero. That Aero was competing very heavily with the wheels because I think the wheels really changed the look of the car. It's very hard to decide between the two, but the M&S Aero touches, you know, when you have the rear spoiler, side skirts, and the front lip, it touches so many different angles of the car that I think you can't talk about the looks of my specific car without mentioning that. So for my favorite exterior mod, well worth the money, I'm going to go with M&S America and their Aero. So props to you guys for that one. Good quality stuff. Fit was good. Took a little bit of finagling, but overall very good. And I'm really happy with the way that it looks on the car. So for the least favorite looks, that's kind of a hard one to choose. Least favorite looks mod. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty hard to choose. I mean, I'm not even gonna bother. I don't think I'm gonna bother, guys. I don't think there is a least favorite looks mod for this. Everything I did just kind of added to the overall look, and there's nothing that has really pained me in the way that some of my performance mods had. So going to the performance side, if I'm talking about my absolute favorite mod, it has to be LAP3's Stage 2.5 tune. You know, again, I am still using JB4 to manage my charge pipe injection, which allows me to run the 2.5 tune instead of methanol. I can use the charge pipe injection, but there really is nothing else that has changed the way this car feels and drives and performs like that tune. So in terms of my favorite performance mod, I would definitely say it's gotta be LAP3's 2.5. In terms of my least favorite performance mod, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say it's the BMS Intercooler. Couple reasons why. One, because of the sizing issues, that was part of the reason why I had the charge pipe that was kind of blowing off under boost I talked to you guys about like a month ago. I had to open up my bumper probably 3-4 times to fix that until I finally got the right fit, and now it's staying. The other thing is that besides the money that it cost me with some damage to my bumper from having to remove it so many times, the fact that it's pushing from the bottom, my under tray means that I had to replace that $400 under tray. The wind then pushed my wheel well out. I had to replace that, which was another $250. And a couple weeks later on the highway, it ended up doing it again. It pushed a brand new under tray out, pushed a brand new wheel well out. So that was $700 that I just threw out the window. So in terms of performance, it did have some benefits for me, but personally, now that I'm seeing that a lot of the Stingers and G70s are running perfectly fine fast times with the stock intercooler, if I could go back and do that again, I don't think I would have purchased that intercooler. I'm not saying that BMS is the only intercooler that you're gonna have issues with. Others might have issues as well, but for me, that has been like a huge pain point the last few weeks for this car. So I probably wouldn't buy that again if I had the choice in hindsight. So yeah, I think that's it for me, guys. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna kind of show you guys the car rip. I know I get boring sometimes talking about this stuff, but a few of you guys really wanted to see like an overview of the car and exactly what's been done to it, how much I've spent, and hopefully I've done that for you. So let's go for a drive. Let's enjoy this a little bit. Got to get the JB4 connected. So again, the JB4 is managing my charge pipe injection. So I do still need it. Alrighty.